one of the yeah, it leads me into one of the things I've been saying before. Is Quinn's job starting to become in jeopardy here? Is the hot seat starting to heat up?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know if it's just me, but do you get that sense of blind loyalty to him from the organization?
The only reason why I'm going to use the word no is because Gorton and Sather hired him, not Gorton and JD.
Mm,
And I think JD kind of hinted at that in his press conference originally. I think they're going to give every chance to Quinn to try to keep his job. I don't think they're just going to just go pull the plug right now, a la Denny Savard, 5 games into his second season with the Blackhawks. But
oh God.
I mean, it was they're. I think they're actually going to try to see if he can work his way out of it, because here's sort of the other thing we need to start talking about with David Quinn, and that's is is he developing the talent? You can't you can't give the guy a Mercedes and then have him go 35 miles an hour, or a BMW, Ferrari. We'll go with Ferrari. Try that again. You can't give the guy a Ferrari and then have him go 25 miles an hour. I mean, we got to look at what the report card says, and we'll talk about this in the next segment about how the youth is looking. But um, but you can't have this stocked cupboard of young talent that the Rangers haven't had since possibly ever on this level,
Yeah.
and then turn around and go, they're developing slowly. We'll just get some more free agents or trade guys. There's got to be guys that are slotted. You got to figure out where these guys are going. If Alexei Lafreniere or Kakko Capo aren't on the top 2 lines, what the hell are we doing? This is first and second overall picks.
Yeah, I was going to say something along those lines myself. And, honestly, this team is in the best position it's been in since the early 90s. And I mean, I know the both of us remember that when you had guys like Tony Amonte, Doug Waite, Brian Leach, Sergei
Mm-hmm.
Dubov, Alexei Kovalev were all young guys, and they were all young and on the rise, and Mike Richter as well. I mean, they're in that type of situation right now where they have all that talent. And to me, the biggest thing that I see online with a lot of people, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, and the people that defend David Quinn, is why would you want to take a chance on a coach that doesn't have the reputation of a Barry Trotz or a Joel Quenneville or a Peter Laviolette or a Mike Babcock with, sort of not only winning but developing young talent as well, because Barry Trotz was good with that. I mean, look at what he did in Nashville with guys like Ryan Suter, Shea Weber, Pekka Rinne, so on. And same with Laviolette. I mean, in
Yep.
Carolina with Eric Stahl and so on. I mean, you could point to multiple examples for these other coaches.
I was going to say, there are coaches that you just point to and go, that's what my team needs right now. And sometimes even when you might go, is this guy really going to stay here that long? Because the name I'm going to get to with when we had the developmental team in the early 2010s, it was John Tortorella.
Mm-hmm.
John Tortorella got them where they needed to go, got them to the conference finals. 2013 was a little bit of a setback. They had the exit interviews, and boom, Alain Vigneault is the next coach. But you need a guy that's going to have a track record. And I mean, if this was a rebuilding team still, and they're still rebuilding, but they're further along in there, I would start looking at a Mike Babcock. I would start looking at trying to think of which guys are available right now. Dave
Gerard
Tippett
Gallant.
is not. Gerard Gallant. There we go. I mean,
he did a hell of a job with that Las Vegas team. He took them in the very first season, go to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they had a somewhat younger team. I'm not going to say they were young like the Rangers are young, but I mean, was William Karlsson before joining the Vegas Golden Knights? No,
nope.
he was never thought of like that. I mean, Jonathan Marchessault, he had talent and potential and stuff like that, and you saw it in Florida. But I mean,
Where Gerard Gallant saw it too.
Yeah, and Gallant got him to play at that next level.
Mm-hmm.
Riley Smith, the same thing. These are guys that nobody really wanted to take a chance on, and Gallant got the best out of them. So that's why I feel like Gerard Gallant could be a great fit for this team. but they've got to make that move sooner than later. And
Right.
and another thing that I want to touch on with that is that you have guys like Artemi Panarin locked up for another
6 years.
6 years. Yeah, he's got 6 years, including this one. Jacob Trouba has 6 years, including this one. And Mika Zibanejad has 2 years left at $5.5 million, whatever he's making right now. And then he's going to require a raise. So you got to start winning sooner than later. Now, it's not a win now team right now, but it's got to be in these next couple of years or so because you're going to start losing your time. So you got to start winning games sooner than later. And why are we going to waste time with a coach that doesn't look like he's cut out to do the job that he was brought in to do, which is developing young talent? It's not just about winning games. It's about developing this talent. And that's what I tried telling everybody during last season, that everybody that stood up for David Quinn, is that you've got to develop the young talent. If the first and second overall picks in a respective draft 2 years in a row are coming in and something doesn't seem right with them, who is that on? Can you really blame the players every single time? To me, it's a boy that cried wolf situation. You got to look at David Quinn at some point.
And what do you think it's going to take to make them pull that trigger?
I don't know. I want to say maybe at the halfway point of this season, if this team looks like they're completely out of it, then maybe JD finally gets fed up and finally convinces himself at the end of the year, especially if they miss the playoffs badly, that they fire David Quinn. But I personally would fire right now. I would fire him and I would go bring in Gerard Gallant. And I know that people will say, oh, well, that's a reactionary move. It's not a reactionary move. This is something I'm basing on 3 seasons worth, or 2 and whatever fraction you want to call it seasons worth. I just don't think he's cut out.
And you know what? First, before I address Quinn with to end this segment, Gerard Gallant, you don't forget what he did in Florida as well. He won a division in Florida. We'll focus on Vegas, but he had a division title in Florida, and that was not an easy team.
That was a 47-win team.
Yeah, and if the Islanders would have been called for tripping on an empty net in the last 45 seconds, and if Aaron Ekblad and the rest of the people didn't cover John Tavares, they would have won a playoff series. Yeah. So it's just like that. Going back to Quinn, again, I like the guy. Last year, I was super confident with him as the Rangers coach. But it doesn't matter whether or not I like you. It matters on the results. We're in a results-based business. And if I was a player on that team, I'm starting to kind of look to wonder whether or not my coach is going to be there for a while, whether or not I like him or not. And then the other side of that is, if you're a guy that does like him and you feel responsible if he gets fired, you better pick your act up. Like an example, Wade Redden back in 2009.
You really had to remind me of that one.
Well, yeah, but Wade Redden said he took it personally that that Tom Rennie was fired. He knows he was one of the reasons why.